Okay, so as part of my series on cocktails, because we're all doing virtual happy hours, I've gotten a couple of requests, thank you, to do a old fashioned, or the way that I do an old fashioned. Okay, so I've got some stuff here. It's a fairly simple drink to make, but there's a couple of choices that you need to make. First is what whiskey you're going to use. Historically, rye is used in an old fashioned, and that's what I use in my old fashioned. Recently, a lot of people use bourbon. You can use either one, whatever you like. Bourbon's going to be a little sweeter, rye's going to be a little spicier, so it just kind of depends on what you want. So an old fashioned is whiskey, some kind of sweetener, and if you look at some old movies or other videos, some people use a sugar cube that they put the bitters in, and that's totally fine. You can use raw sugar in this if you want to. It leaves a little bit of it's a little gritty when you finish it. Some people like that. What I like to use is Demerara sugar, and just like we made simple syrup, this is Demerara sugar syrup. Now the ratio's a little bit different because I want it to be a little thicker, a little, it gives the drink a little more body. It's a little more molasses. So this is a Demerara. I use Demerara sugar for this. It's 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. Okay, so simple syrup is 1-to-1. Demerara is 2-to-1. So it is a little bit sweeter, but it's got more molasses notes, more caramel notes, and I think it makes a better old fashioned. And the Demerara sugar cubes or brown sugar cubes is what a lot of people use in their recipes, but this is a little bit easier to mix. And then the last component is the bitters. So historically, or probably the most time you go to a bar or something, they're going to use Angostura bitters. They also might use orange bitters. Okay, I use both orange and some other kind of bitter. So Angostura is usually what you use. You can also find other just regular kind of cocktail bitters, or this is called decanter bitters. Each one has a little bit different profile to them, and they're all good. I've also started using this quite a bit. This is a black walnut bitter, and it just gives it a different depth of flavor. You can mix them all if you wanted to, but I'll show you how I make mine, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I use just 1 dash of orange bitters, okay? Regan's is a good brand. I think Regan's uses a different kind of orange than some of the other ones do. But it's good. And then I'm going to use 2 dashes of black walnut bitters. Okay? You can use a dash of black walnut and a dash of Angostura, or 2 dashes of this. I like it a little spicy, so I use 2 dashes of one of these kind. Okay? Kind of play around with the recipe, what you like. All I use as far as sweetener, and you don't want it to be an overly sweet drink, is I use 1 teaspoon of Demerara syrup, okay? And I measure it out, and I lay it in there because I'm gonna use the whiskey kind of wash out the stick, but it's only 1 teaspoon of syrup. If you use regular simple syrup, you'll probably want to use maybe 2 teaspoons, maybe 2.5, because it's not as sweet. I've used maple syrup if I use bourbon, and you probably want to put maybe 1.5 teaspoons of maple syrup in there. It's really good if you do that too. You could use honey, you could use any of that if you wanted to sweeten it up. So 1 teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to use rye. So I'm using Whistle Pig 12-year-old rye, which is a very good, you don't want to use like crappy bottom shelf rye or bourbon for your old fashions. Use something good, something that you want to drink. And all you need is 2 ounces, and that's it. All right, so I'm gonna throw that in there. All right, wash that off. and I'm going to put just enough, and this is a stir drink. Now, you can you do this right in the glass if you want to, which I do quite a bit. Doing it in a mixing glass gets it a little bit colder. It also dilutes it a little bit more, which in cocktails you want a little bit of dilution. The water helps kind of round out the flavors. It's not as strong and bracing. I don't stir a lot in my martinis because I want it that way, and I will do a video for a martini soon. But you want to stir it up for about 25 seconds or so, and then you want to use a rocks glass, and I use one with a big ice cube in it. Okay, you can use smaller ice cubes. I find that it just kind of lasts longer if I do it that way. And the way I do it is just strain it with a julep strainer over the ice. Throw it in there. And I'll put that over here. Now, some people garnish with a wedge of orange. Some people muddle orange in there. I don't think that that's necessary. I like using the bitters better, but I always garnish with an orange peel at least. And what you do with the orange peel is you just take a swath of orange peel and you just squeeze it over the drink and kind of rub around the edges. A lot of times I'll just drop that in there. Sometimes I'll twist it and throw it in there. What I'm going to do today is another kind of classic garnish is a Maraschino Cherry. Don't buy the cheap ones in the grocery store. If you're going to use a Maraschino Cherry, at least use Luxardo. It's the best you can buy out there. It's a little bit expensive, but it's well worth it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my orange peel and just kind of fold it up a little bit and do that. And then I'm going to take one cherry, if I can get it. Get it there. Okay, that's not going to work. There we go. And just put it in there like that and just drop it in the glass. And that is how I do my old fashioned. So the first thing I smell is a little bit of that orange, but the rye, using rye, I mean, it's very aromatic. And that is delicious. It's a little sweet, a little spicy. It's a sipping cocktail for the most part. You know, you don't want to down like 4 of these at one time. But, you know, if you want to, that's fine. Make it last all night. But that's how I do my old fashioned. So, check out, I'm doing this on YouTube now. So it's called Jason's Happy Hour. There's a link that I'll provide if you want to go out there. I'm going to just throw all my videos out there. So if there's something you want to go back to, you can do it. Leave me a comment, give me a like, all of that stuff. But I will see you next Thursday with another video. Cheers.